You are listening to Any Given Sunday for Sunday, January 20th, 2019. I am your host, Manny Brown. What's good, everybody? It's been a long 3 weeks, but we are finally back from our little holiday hiatus. My bad. It wasn't intended to be a 3-week hiatus, more like a 1-week hiatus. But hopefully everybody enjoyed their holiday season. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever holiday you celebrated over the last holiday season. Happy, blessed holiday season to you. I had a great one. I went on vacation, saw my family, some friends in Florida, took a week off of normally scheduled programming, took the kids down to Florida, and we had a blast. So it's crazy because we were supposed to do a show that New Year's weekend, and I was actually leaving that Sunday, so we couldn't get the show done that weekend. I was just running around, catching up, trying to find last minute things, packing up, procrastinating like we tend to do. So I didn't get the chance to do the show that weekend. So I figured, I'm not just going to try to crank something out real quick. I couldn't get a guest because it's New Year's Eve weekend. So I wasn't going to try to crank out a show. I didn't have time to. So I just decided, okay, just postpone the show. And then I already had known that I wasn't going to do a show the following Sunday. The 6th, because I was going to be here. I was going to be in Florida. So I wasn't going to do a show that week. So it was only supposed to be a 1 week, but we took 3 weeks off. And then last week we were supposed to come back with an episode. I had Kyle lined up to be the guest last week, but, scheduling conflicts on my end of things, had some things come up, had some prior engagements. So I couldn't record that day. So, but nonetheless, got that out of the way. We are back this week with a new episode, feeling refreshed, feeling good. 2019 is here. We're ready to do some big things. Big things. I'm happy to announce a partnership with Dead End Podcast, Dead End Media. You guys know them well. Ken has been on the show many a times. So, I'm happy to announce that I'm officially a part of the Dead End family, man. I'm truly honored. I've been a fan of those guys from a long time ago. It's crazy. I remember watching some of their first YouTube videos, and now to get the opportunity to be under that banner and to be working with them closely, it's going to be dope. So, just wanted to announce that here on the podcast. I've been tweeting about it for the last week or so. So just wanted to announce it officially here on the show. So, and with that, the show will no longer be hosted on SoundCloud, meaning that the primary downloads won't come from SoundCloud. So they'll still be available on iTunes, Google. They'll still be available through the normal podcast directory. So iTunes, Google, Spotify, everywhere. But we just won't be feeding them through SoundCloud anymore. So we'll be feeding them through Megaphone, which is a Studio 71 podcast directory. It's so far so good. Got a chance to do a conference call with those guys. They sound like pretty cool guys and pretty cool company to work with. Nothing but good things as far as they're concerned. So I'm happy to announce this, man. I'm happy about this partnership. I think this is a great thing, and this is just going to open us up for a new audience and just new opportunities in 2019, man. I said it last year briefly that I have high hopes for this year. This is our year. I really want to take this show into a new, higher level. And that starts there. So I'm happy to announce that. I'm proud to announce that. I'm so happy. I'm so honored to be a part of that project. And it's just going to be dope, man. It's going to really, really be dope. But, my guest this week, is Kyle, Mr. 12 Kyle for the 12 Kyle podcast. You guys know him well. He's been on the show before in our TFP days. I'm happy to have him back now. We're going to talk about, Championship Sunday. What a championship Sunday that was. We'll get into it. We'll break down the 2 classic football games that we had tonight. We'll get into the Saints being right. We'll get into everything. So just wanted to have Kyle back. It's been a while since we got a chance to talk to Kyle. So it's going to be dope to get him back on the show finally. But, I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to bring it back, and we're going to have Kyle on the show. All right. Yo, what's up, everybody? If you're a real fan of Any Given Sunday, then you have to become a member of our exclusive Facebook page, AGS Nation. AGS Nation is a special Facebook group page where real fans of the podcast can connect with me and other hardcore sports fans. Now, I must warn you, anything goes on this page. Guys post the funniest, most thought-provoking, and sometimes even offensive posts, memes in the sports universe. So if you're a little bit weak at heart, do not join this page. But if you're a real hardcore fan of the show, join me, connect with me directly on AGS Nation. Don't hesitate, but beware, it goes down in AGS Nation. Peace out. Welcome back to the show. My guest this week, host of the 12 Kyle podcast, blogger extraordinaire, also contributes on Dead End Sports from time to time, Mr. 12 Kyle. What's going on, man?
Yo, what up? Glad to be in the building. Welcome. Man. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. Last time we had you, we were Technical Foul. Now we're under a new name, Save Style. But what's good, man? How's the family? How's the show?
Everybody's good. Everybody's good, man. The families, the kids are getting bigger. One step closer to pushing each one of them out of the house. The podcast is going well, man. It's been a lot of fun, man. I love, being able to create and really just kind of doing my own thing and then, putting out content about stuff that I want to talk about. And, people respond to it. So that's even better. But, everything that I do as far as the podcast is concerned has been, the podcast that I want to do. And people take to it. So that's always dope.
Awesome. And if you guys haven't checked it out, man, you guys, if you guys have listened to the show for a while, you guys know about Kyle. So check it out. It's a dope show. It's not just about sports. It's about everything.
Oh, yeah.
He has a podcast about, relationships to a podcast about, debating LeBron, why LeBron hated, the things that women don't want to hear during sex. I mean, it's everything.
It's relationships, it's dating, it's sex, it's, hip hop, it's music, it's sports. I try to cover it all, man. What it really, honestly, the podcast is whatever I feel like talking about that particular day that I sit in front of the computer. That's it.
Yeah, and I still got to listen to part 2 of the last episode. I haven't listened to.
Oh yeah. We had a good time with that one, man. I did my best because for those of you listening, the podcast my most recent podcast was about we were talking about LeBron, Jordan, and Allen Iverson. We were just talking about their significance as far as what they did and their influences, not so much as on the basketball court, but off the basketball court. And in part 2, man, I tried my best not to mention a certain Laker. Because one of my co-hosts is a Laker fan, and he knows. It's funny because he's a Laker fan, but he also hates Kobe too. So I tried my best not to bring up Kobe in the discussion, but we got Kobe in there for a quick second, and we got out. But it was a funny discussion, man. We had a good time with it.
Yeah, no, the first part of the show was really dope. So I'm looking forward to catching up on part 2. I probably might do that tonight or sometime.
Cool.
Tomorrow.
Let me know what you think, man. And these are like 2 of my best friends that we've been friends since like middle school. So we go way back. So it's honestly, and you kind of hear it in the podcast. It's not. It really was just us talking. We just happened to be recording. Yeah. That's literally how we talk all the time.
Those are the best shows too, though, because it's like a magic. As soon as you just hit record, it's like a magic. Mm-hmm. So the audience instantly picks up on that. So
Exactly.
Yeah, man, check it out, man. It's a dope podcast. I'm a huge fan of it. I can't plug it enough. It's a great show. So, check it out if you haven't listened to it. 12 Kyle podcast is available everywhere.
Just got on Spotify too.
Spotify, congrats
Appreciate
on that.
it.
Yeah, Spotify. Anywhere where you can get podcasts for free.
There you go. That's where it's at.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
So yeah, man, let's get started. I mean, today's the day, Championship Sunday. We had a hell of a day of football. How you want to do this? You want to start with the game that we just finished, or you want to start with the earlier game first?
We can start with the earlier game first, and then work our way down. That's cool.
All right, yeah. Well, let's start with the Saints and the Rams game. Before we kind of get into the game and what our opinions are, and and get to the obvious, the controversial no call, get your opinions on that. Full disclosure, you are a Falcons fan. So
True indeed.
I'm sure the results of this game did not disappoint you in the slightest.
Well, okay. Here's the thing, man. I'm a Falcons fan. For those of you listening, I live in the city of Atlanta. I love my city, right? And my city has contributed a lot to, the sports world. They blew a Super Bowl lead a couple of years ago. So I know the feeling of, losing it all. But the city has contributed a lot to hip hop. And, I really think the city would have been in trouble if the Saints had made it here. Because Saints fans, God bless them, the whole New Orleans would have come to Atlanta for the Super Bowl. Not just the fans, not just, the players. I mean, the whole city of New Orleans and the surrounding areas would have come. But I'll say this, man, I'm not throwing any shade at any Saints fans, because the Saints fans that I know, honestly, Manny, when the Falcons lost the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, I didn't hear one peep from one Saints fan. Nobody gave me any grief. And I thought that was really cool. They got railroaded. I mean, like, it was really bad. I don't wish that on any. I mean, because if you think about it, the Saints went through a lot last year, losing the game in Minnesota the way that they did. But that was bad, man. I mean, like, it was bad. I mean, like, I don't know how you can miss the calls that were missed. And of course, the one obvious call, and the Saints still are, Sean Payton in particular, that he's still culpable, to some degree, because they still had a chance to win the game. But the NFL can't come back and say, well, hey, my bad, we missed those calls. And I honestly feel, even being a Falcons fan, I feel for Saints fans, because that's not how you want to lose a game. It'd be one thing if the Rams just straight up beat them up and down. You can live with that. You know what I'm saying? But to have it taken away is something totally different. I really feel for them, to be honest. And I can be objective about that.
Yeah. Well, it's a two-pronged for me. Like, first and foremost, you're right. I think Sean Payton does bear some responsibility. Especially after that 43-yard, I think it was a 43-yard bomb to Ginn.
Yes.
After that catch. The play calling on that drive was very suspect. I didn't understand it at all. I thought they had a chance to win the game right there. And yes, that's when the controversial call occurred. So it was kind of a two-pronged thing there. Sean Payton's, play calling, and then of course the no call there by the officials. I thought the officiating was bad all day. Very inconsistent on both sides. But yeah, you're right. The Saints got hosed. Now I don't feel as strongly about it as I would say had they, I think the Sean Payton play calling still bears a lot of blame in this situation as well. Like, I think it's pretty much even, although I would give the slight edge to the no call, because I do think they got hosed on that. And I do think that had they, and this is why I lean a little bit towards the no call, because yes, the play calling that led up to that no call was suspect. I'm not even gonna say it was suspect. I thought it was bad.
It was terrible. You're right.
It would have been negated had the two flags been thrown. So because I know what people are going to say. Well, it was a no call, but Sean Payton did call him terrible plays there late in that game, and I agree with you. I completely agree with you. But I do think that had they called the flags there, that would have negated anything that Sean Payton had called before that.
And that's a good.
Still would have had because they still would have had the ball at no worse. I think they would have had the ball at the 5-yard line, something like that.
Exactly.
So yeah, so at that rate, who knows what happens? They're almost pretty much. I don't want to say they're guaranteed to score a touchdown there, but close enough. You know what I mean? So I think it was a terrible call. It was a terrible call. But I thought the officiating was bad the entire game. I didn't understand some of the calls there. Let's kind of get to the overall game. Before the game, or in the week leading up to it, I don't know if you made a pick or you said anything on Twitter, but what was your pick going into the game?
I thought the Rams would win. I thought, and I was telling my friends that, it was going to come down to probably whoever had the ball last. I didn't foresee the game going in overtime, but I wouldn't have been surprised, had it gone in overtime. Because I saw the game that they played earlier this season, and it was a shootout in New Orleans, and New Orleans is a tough place to play. If you've ever, I've been there before for a game. That place is to say that it's loud is an understatement. I've never seen it that loud before, to the point where you got offensive linemen standing next to each other yelling, and they still can't hear they can't hear the calls or anything. But I thought it was going to be a close game. I thought having Talib back was going to help the Rams, because he didn't play in the matchup that they had earlier this year. And I was interested to see, because I played wide receiver in college and high school. I'm always interested to see the wide receiver cornerback matchup. So I was interested to see how they were going to handle Michael Thomas, considering the fact that he went off last week against the Eagles. And he only finished with like 4 catches for 36 yards. So they did a good job of, and I'm pretty sure he was double and triple teamed. But they said, okay, hey, Ted Ginn, you're going to have to beat us. Smith, you're going to have to beat us. And what Sean Payton ended up doing was, really going to his bread and butter, which was, hitting Kamara out of the backfield, which is, it is pick your poison. When Kamara's coming out of that backfield, you can put a linebacker on him, but, and what their linebackers basically were doing was they were shading the inside and making him go outside. So he was just running outside routes. But you're picking up 7-8 yards a clip. So New Orleans offense was always in a positive situation. What I mean by that is they were always 2nd and 2, 2nd and 1. You know what I'm saying? At that point, your playbook is wide open. You don't necessarily have to run the ball. I was very impressed with how the Rams played defensively, particularly against the run. They shut down Zeke last week when they played against the Cowboys, and they shut down, the Saints tonight. I don't think either running back had over. I don't think they may not even rush for 50 yards, which is saying a lot, because Kamara and Ingram are some tough running backs to stop. But I thought coming in, man, I thought it was going to be a close game. I thought, I know New Orleans because I'm a Falcons fan, and I watched them. I know that they're tough to beat in New Orleans. And, the Rams got off to a shaky start. And I think, the key was, that fake punt.
Yeah,
they got them going.
Go there. Yeah, I'm completely with you. You read my mind there. I was going to ask you the same thing about that. I thought that completely changed the game around. Because I was worried, going into the week, I thought it's weird because I started if you would have asked me this last Sunday, I thought the Saints were going to win. Mm-hmm. I was impressed with how the Saints won last week, although they didn't look particularly impressive against the Eagles, and the Eagles could have easily won that game. I love the fact that the Saints toughed that game out. And, they won that game as much with their defense as anything else. And that's a rarity for a Saints team, in the last few years. Remember the first Super Bowl they got to in 2009, that, while their defense was opportunistic, the Saints were an offensive juggernaut. Exactly. So they were an offensive team that just so happened to have a decent enough defense. This year, I think they're, in a lot of ways, their defense is kind of ahead of their offense in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the way that they were able to kind of grind out that game and win that game, win a tough, just physical, just intense football game. I liked how they were able to, win that game. And then I thought that being at home, playing in the Superdome, I just thought the home field was going to be too much. And I was like that, maybe Sunday, Monday-ish. But then during the week, I started chanting. I'm like, man, the Rams kind of played well too. Gurley's back. C.J. Anderson has emerged. I really like how the Rams defense had played against the Cowboys, because that Rams defense was, I was talking to one of the homies this week, and I was like, I've been really disappointed with the Rams defense this year. I just kind of felt like the Rams defense has not been as good as advertised. They've been good in moments, but they just, for the totality of the season, they really haven't played up to their potential. But really the last game or two left in the regular season, and then going into the postseason, I've really been impressed with what the Rams defense has been doing. Especially the front line, the defensive line. And Donald is Donald.
Yes.
We know Donald is that guy. So that goes without saying. But Sue is kind of, caught second win here late in the season, and blockers has played well, and that linebacking core for the Rams I think is a little bit of a question mark, but they've played well. And the secondary's gotten healthier. So the Rams defense getting healthier and playing better. And just the worry that the Saints really hadn't played, even though I just praised them, the Saints for the last 6 weeks of the season really hadn't played well.
Right. Good point.
So that kind of, I kind of sipped the Kool-Aid a little bit on that one too, and I was like, I still kept my pick that the Saints were going to win, but I could have been convinced that the Rams could have won. And I thought the game completely changed on the fake punt. I thought that really changed because I thought that the Rams were in danger.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. I thought this had blown out. I thought this had blowout written all over it. I thought this was going to be another Eagles Vikings from last year's NFC Championship. I thought this was just going to be that. I mean, that's what it looked like for the first quarter and a half of the game, and I just really thought that fake punt kind of settled the game down. I thought it got the Rams back in the game, and the MVP, the guy that isn't getting a lot of credit, and it's a shame because I think that the highlights of the game is going to be the missed call, obviously. Mm-hmm. But Jared Goff really grew up in this game.
Yeah, he did.
I really that's why I always get mad when people look at numbers and they try to grade performance just based on numbers. Like sometimes you got to watch the game because if you look at Jared Goff's numbers, like he didn't have overwhelming statistics. He didn't his quarterback rating wasn't that high, but anybody who watched that game can tell you Jared Goff played a hell of a game, especially in the second half. I mean, he just completely grew up before our eyes. Some of the throws he made, especially on third down, the Saints defensive line was in his face a lot, and he just made some tough throws. Right. And I'm still a little iffy on Goff. Like I've gotten off of it because he's played well the last 2 years for the most part, but I'm still a little iffy on Goff. If in a big spot, can he really be the guy that leads the Rams? And he showed it today. He made some big plays. He made some big throws when he needed it. He settled the game down. He settled down in the game, and that's big. But for a young quarterback like him, that's really big. So I think he's not getting a lot of play. I haven't really watched ESPN. Obviously, we're doing a show, but I don't know what they're talking about as far as that game goes, as far as talking about that performance. But that was a hell of a performance. What did you think?
I agree. I think I'm sitting here looking at his numbers. He was 25 for 40 for 297 yards. Conversely, Drew Brees was 26 for 40 for 249 yards. So, they both had pretty much similar numbers. Obviously, Goff threw for a little bit threw for more yards. But when you look at the, like you said, some of the passes that he made, particularly in the second half, Goff is one of those guys, like a lot of young quarterbacks, that they got to get a rhythm going. And I think part of the issue that they ran into initially in the game was he didn't get a chance to get a rhythm going. And I don't know and honestly, man, I'm not sure. Something's wrong with Todd Gurley. They're not telling us what's wrong with Todd Gurley. But
I think it's probably the knee. I think it's
got to be.
He's probably not.
It's got to
be.
He had 4 rushes for 10 yards. And so when you look at that, if someone had told you coming into this game that Todd Gurley is going to have 4 carries for 10 yards, you'd probably say that the Rams are getting thrown out of the Superdome. C.J. Anderson had 16 carries for 44 yards. But again, it goes back to what you said. Goff's ability to, make plays and some of those throws that he was making, particularly in the second half,
to Everett
played big. That one that he hit Everett when he got outside of the pocket and Everett turned it into like a 30-yard gain. Those were big because those are conversions and it helped them move the sticks. And I think once it just looked to me like, Goff was a little, not just Goff, but the entire Rams team, they were a little anxious. And once they settled down, and you got to give them credit defensively because, they were in situations where they could have literally had the doors blown off of them. But, you look up and you're only down 13-0. And it's the first quarter. Now you're down 13-0, but still you're like, okay, we just got to settle down. And I think, like you said, the fake punt was key. And then after that, offensively, they kind of got their footing up under them. And, defensively, they locked in. And even in being down 13-0, the defense stopped them, twice in the red zone, which is something that I think the Saints are one of the top teams in the red zone. So, hats off to the Rams because, outside of the blown calls, I should say, they played well. They played well enough to win. So did the Saints. But
yeah, the Saints played well. I mean, this wasn't, because a lot of times when you get in these games, there's one team that doesn't play as well as the other. I thought both teams really played well. I thought Breeze played, even though his numbers weren't great, they were similar to Goff. He made some tough throws too. So I thought both quarterbacks played well enough to win.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that fake punt, man, that's going to go down the lore. I thought that play is not going to get enough credit.
Right.
It's not going to get enough love, obviously, because it's a fake punt. So, it's kind of – and then, of course, with the no call, the infamous no call now, that's going to get all the attention of this game, unfortunately. And it's messed up that's going to be the thing that's going to be remembered the most about this game. But yeah, I thought that the fake punch has changed everything for the Rams, and I thought the Rams, I think the Rams kind of came out like a young team. I thought the environment, the crowd noise, I thought got the best of them in that first quarter. Goff looked like he was a little shaken there in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But give him credit. I mean, how many times have we seen young quarterbacks come out on the road with the hostile environment, the noise?
Yeah, he throws a pick.
Yeah, exactly. So the pick. How many times have we seen guys come out, great quarterbacks, young, guys that go on to be Hall of Famers. I mean, I remember a playoff game with Peyton Manning played against the Jets in the Meadowlands and hostile environment. I think this is Peyton's like fourth or fifth year, something like that. And, just completely the Jets, the crowd, the defense just completely rattled them and we beat them 41-0. And, and obviously this is Peyton Manning. So, how many times have we seen young quarterbacks on the road come out and, in hostile conditions and just completely fold under pressure? But Goff completely stayed with it. He was able to weather the storm. He was able to take the Saints' best punch. And I thought it was important. For them to only be down the way they were down at the half.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt like they could sit there and say, look, we took their best punch and we're still here. So I thought that was really important.
Oh, no doubt. I think what we saw, like you said, Jared Goff really just maturing. And, once they settled down, they were able to, take a couple of punches from the Saints. And then they kind of realized they looked around and said, okay, hey, we can play with these guys. And, that sounds funny and that sounds weird to say. But, a lot of times in reality, when you're getting hit with these haymakers, you tell yourself or you look around and you're like, well, hey, we're okay. We're in this. We know how to play. It's not like, we just got dropped off here. But, that fake punt again was huge. Let me ask you this question because I'm often asked this question. Obviously, like you said, a lot of the talk, particularly for fans, will come back to the blown call, if you will. The question I have for you is a question I get asked often. Did that one play cost the Saints the game?
See, I'm torn a little bit. The fan in me, and I'm not a fan of the Saints, obviously. So when I say the fan in me, the football fan in me, is going to say yes. But if I'm doing this from the podcaster me, the broadcaster me, I can't ignore Sean Payton's play calling. I'm just confused by after the 40, because I thought after Breeze hits Ginn there and he has a 2-minute warning, and I thought the Saints were going to win. Yeah. Okay, that was the big play they needed. Now the Saints are going to, barring something catastrophic, and lo and behold, obviously. but no, barring something catastrophic, I thought, the Saints are going to win this game. So I guess to answer your question, yes, but I don't. It's tough. It's tricky. Yes, I do think the call had an effect because I just said earlier that yes, while the call was big. Sean Payton's play calling before that was terrible. I mean, it was just awful. I mean, that throw he made on that play call on first down, like, what are you guys doing?
You don't throw the ball on first down.
Run the football, make them use their timeouts. I'm not in, I'm not saying anything, magical here. I mean, Aikman said the same thing. So, I mean, everybody had the same mindset. Run the football, make the Rams use their timeouts. Work the clock a little bit there. You're in the position where right now you've got full control here. But I think that was negated by the no call. I mean, that was just, and I think the severity of the no call also plays. I mean, that was just, not only was that pass interference, but that was targeting.
Yeah, it was.
So that's 2 flags.
Right.
It's not like it was a questionable, it could have gone either way, pass interference. I mean, that was one of the most horrific missed calls I've ever seen in a playoff game. Like, honestly, like, what? I'm going to curse. What the fuck were those officials looking like? Were y'all paying attention? Like, did y'all get caught up in the moment? Like, and I get it. Officiating these games are, I get it. I sympathize with these officials because I think the NFL is the hardest game to officiate. I really do, because it's so much going on. I mean, you could call pass interference on any play. You can call holding on any play. Hell, you could call targeting on any play if you really, really, really wanted to get to the nitty gritty of it. So I mean, it's hard. It's hard. But I mean, that's a call you got to make. I mean, that's just obvious. I mean, my daughter can make that. She's 2.
Right.
I mean, come on now. That's just, I mean, that's just basic 101 officiating. Like, the dude led with his head, the crown of his helmet. Like, that was a flag. If you don't want to, I mean, if you don't even want to say pass interference, at best, that's targeting.
Mm-hmm.
And what's targeting? A 15-yard penalty?
Right.
And I think an ejection?
No, it's not an ejection. Not on the pro level.
Not on the pro level. Yeah, okay, not on the pro level. My bad. So yeah, it's a 15-yard penalty. So, yeah, that has to be called there. That you cannot not make that call. So, yeah, I mean, I think it cost them the game. I mean, it absolutely did, because again, while I don't like Sean Payton's play calling, it completely got negated by the no call. It just did, because even with all the bad play calls that ensued after the Ginn catch, you got to believe that the Saints are going to get it first down, first and, goal, I believe at the 5 or 4, wherever, so essentially the Saints have new life, and you would think that they're going to figure out a way to score there. So yeah, I thought it cost them the game, man. I really, really do. And it's a shame. And I think that this game is going to be forever marred by that. And you know what? I hate after the fact when the coaches call the league, and I don't know who calls the league. I'm assuming Sean Payton calls the league, or the league calls Sean Payton. Yeah, we blew it. Like, no shit. Like, oh, okay. Hey, I'm sitting here pissed off.
Right.
I'm going to talk to 53 guys that, the NFL just basically hosed us. But hey, at least they admitted it, guys. Like, what? And
there's no consolation for that.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, they kind of have to say that in a way, but it's like you're almost better off just not saying it. You're almost just better off just don't even answer the phone when they call. Like, just like, just we're not even gonna answer the phone, but just know we got it. We know we fucked up. Just don't even say anything. Like, I hate that, and you see that in all sports. When they blow, the umpires in MLB blow a big call. Well, yeah, we know. Well, we know we got it wrong. Yeah, no shit. Because so does 50 million people. We know you fucked up. Like, right. The NBA, it's the same thing in the NBA.
Yeah, the NBA does it too. I hate that.
Know. That's a pet peeve. Yeah, it's a pet peeve of mine. Like, come on, seriously? Like, yes. All right. That's a consolation. Like, if I was one of the players in the Saints locker room, I'm like, really? Like, really? Hey, here I am feeling down, but hey, at least the officials owned up to it. Like, come on. But yeah, I thought it cost them the game. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. No other way to say it. It cost them the game. Yes, the Saints had other opportunities to win the game. Yes, the Saints could have got some stops in overtime. Yes, the Saints could have scored more points there, especially in the first half. Yes, all valid points. But that no call is just, it's tough to come back. It's tough to come back.
Yeah, I'll put it like this, and the reason why I asked is because, like I said, I'm often asked that. Having played football, I remember when I was in college, one of my coaches, he would always tell us that one play never decides a game, right? And so as a player, we always adapted that mentality, but the reality is, as a player, Now, as a fan, yeah, you're going to think, yeah, that play cost us the game. But as a player, I'm sure when the Saints players watch this film, they'll see several times where they had opportunities to win the game, or where they had opportunities to make plays, and they didn't, and they did what we used to call, they left touchdowns on the field, or they left points on the field, if you will. And so I think in this case, as a New Orleans Saints player, once they watch the film, yeah, they'll realize that they left points on the field. I mean, like one of the first drives that they had, the Saints tight end had the ball in the end zone and he dropped it.
Yeah.
And then ended up settling for 3. So those are points. So if you get that touchdown as opposed to 3, it's a different ball game. So it depends on, so to answer the question, yeah, it depends on who you ask. If you ask a player, like I said, once they remove themselves from this and watch film on it, they'll understand that, yeah, that play didn't cost them the game, but it helped them lose the game. From a fan's perspective, yeah, it cost them. And like you were mentioning about the officiating, I went back and I watched it. And one thing I want you to look at whenever you get a chance to watch the highlights, the side judge who is right there where the impact takes place is standing. He's off what they call the white. He's off the white. So he's not even in the field of play.
Wow. So
you see his hands in the screenshot. You see him signal incomplete. It looks to me like he was there strictly he was like kind of trying to pay attention if the guy was going to catch the ball and if he's going to catch it in bounds. So if that's the case, if he's making that call, then the side judge is eliminated basically. So then you go to the field judge who's in the middle of the field.
Exactly.
The field judge should have thrown that flag, because you could make a case, as crazy as it sounds, you could make a case that the side judge didn't have the angle to see that he may have thought that the guy got there as soon as the ball did, which is crazy, but
yeah,
you can make a case that that's what he was looking at. But that field judge, he's supposed to make that call because he has a clear view of the ball. And like you said, even if you don't get him for pass interference, it's helmet to helmet contact. The Saints should have gotten the ball at the 5. They get the ball at the 5, like you said, barring something crazy, they can. And I don't think I think the Rams had 1 timeout.
I believe they had 2.
Okay. So either way, so if they had 1 or 2, you run a couple of plays, take a knee, you could probably drain the clock down and kick a field goal, or you can play, the Saints still had their timeout. So, they could be aggressive, and, try to score the touchdown or what have you. But that being said, even though that was an awful call and they should have gotten it right and they got it wrong, they still gave the Rams back the ball with like 1:37 left and allowed them to drive the ball down the field. And Woods makes a catch on a skinny post,
that was a hell of a
and there's nobody around it.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't fall down, he's walking into the end zone because nobody's going to catch him. I don't know what kind of defense the Saints were playing. But, so it's plays like that, allow you to get into overtime. And then you get into overtime and, Breeze gets hit and he throws a pick.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you say? It's, it's unfortunate. And like I said, for the fans, I'm not going to, throw any shade at the Saints fans. I can imagine their pain as far as how they feel, because they really feel like they got hosed. But the Saints players they have to know that they had a hand in this. Like it was mostly the refs, but they also gave this game away too as well.
Let me ask you, and I like to ask players this, and the few players that I know that actually played the game in all sports. How do you? I'm a fan, and a lot of fans believe in this. Some fans don't. I'm a big believer in momentum. I'm a big believer that God sometimes plays in these games. And I'm a huge believer in momentum, and that momentum, has an effect on a team. From a player perspective, and I'm just saying this from a fan perspective, but from a player perspective, do you guys believe in momentum? Do you guys believe that that's just that one thing or that one play or that one situation that can change everything? And the reason I ask this, because I do think that, that call may have had an adverse effect on the Saints. To go into a situation where you basically feel like you should have gotten a call, how deflating is that on the sidelines? How deflating is that, after the fact? And you got to believe that the Rams kind of felt like they got second life there, So it's momentum. It's momentum on both ends. So, let's kind of explain that from the player perspective. Like, do you guys kind of buy into momentum, and how, one play, one shot, one pitch, one hit, whatever analogy you want to use, changes everything, changes the momentum of the ball.
I agree. I think it does. At least for me, when I played football, it did. And you see it sometimes on the field. We don't, as fans, we don't necessarily pay attention to it. But I'll give you an example. If it's, and it can be any team, it doesn't have to be the teams that we watched tonight, but it's 3rd and 15. And you got your defense is on the field and it's 3rd and 15 and the quarterback drops back and he completes a 17-yard pass. That is deflating as hell.
Yeah.
And so instead of you getting, amped up that your defense is getting off the field, now it's like, we got to do this again, 3 more downs. And it's momentum is something that keeps going, and it's hard to block out. When things are, it's like the old saying, when it's rolling, it's rolling. And so I think you have to be mentally tough when the momentum isn't going your way, and how you break out of that is that somebody has to make a play. And I think sometimes, and we hear that a lot, particularly in the NFL, somebody got to make a play. A lot of times guys are waiting on other guys to make plays. I didn't see a lot of, I know you're a huge Jets fan. I didn't see a lot of the Jets play this year. I did see the Jets Patriots
Be
game.
thankful of that, by the way.
And that's exactly what happened a little bit of the game that I saw. Everybody was waiting on somebody else to make a play as opposed to saying, okay, we got the lead. Let's finish these guys.
Yeah.
It was almost like we're playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. Per case in point, Falcons having that 25-point lead. They just you can't sit on a lead. This isn't little league. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's a professional for a reason. And in that particular game, the Patriots got momentum. And then after a while, guys start looking around like, okay, what's going on here? And then the fans start getting into it. And so tonight, I think, that momentum, I think, like you said, it had an adverse effect on the Saints. That was tough to not, because think about it. You go from the euphoria of Ginn catching that pass. First of all, for Ted Ginn to catch a pass is a blessing in and of itself. Because he will drop the most easy.
He does drop.
He will drop an easy pass but catch the difficult ones. And for him to go up, make that play. So right now, this game is in the bag. It's in the bag. They're celebrating. And then they come out of the 2-minute warning and Sean Payton throws a pass. So you're like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, bro? We're 2 minutes away from heading to Atlanta. And so that's a negative momentum. And then I think something else happened. And then they ended up having to, then the play happens on 3rd down. And then so you end up having to kick the field goal. And so, there's negative momentum at that point, but then you got to feel good a little bit because, your defense is there and the crowd is going crazy. And you're thinking, okay, we're a minute and 30-something seconds away from
that reminds me of?
Super Bowl.
You know what that reminded me of?
What's that?
My bad to bring this up to you. You're a Falcons fan. But the Julio Jones catch late in that game in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then the play calls after that, Matt Ryan taking the sack. I mean, that's instantly what I thought.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
What are y'all doing?
That's it. And I think sometimes, man, and I would love, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to address it. Like you mentioned, Sean Payton's play calling. I think sometimes, man, these quote unquote coaching geniuses, they get too smart for their own damn good.
Yeah, they outsmart themselves.
Yeah, they outsmart themselves. I mean, the Rams weren't expecting the Saints to throw the ball at that juncture. Driving with a chance to, go ahead. They weren't expecting them to throw the ball in that juncture, but the fact that you threw the ball in this an incomplete pass, you stopped the clock. Yeah. That's one less timeout that they have to burn. Anything can happen. I mean, football is a crazy sport. Yeah. It's almost the equivalent of, and you and I watch thousands of basketball games where teams just start getting hot. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, even the scrub that comes off the bench, he's hitting shots. Yeah. That's just when it's just their night. And I think, momentum. Now, honestly, man, there are people who don't believe in momentum. I think it's something that's true. And the only way that you break it, you have to be strong mentally, because the game comes in waves. It's almost like an NBA game where, teams are going to go on runs. And so, just to kind of correlate the two, like if you're playing against Golden State, yeah, your 10-point lead can be evaporated with a couple of trips down the court because they shoot threes so well.
Yeah.
So after that, what's going to happen? So then the crowd is into it. Curry shooting from, the logo.
Right.
What are you going to do?
And that's why, I feel, and not to get into too much of basketball, and we're talking about the conference championships, but that's why, and I always rag Rockets fans for last year. I always bring up the fact.
Oh, no question.
I always bring up the fact that they had a 17-point lead in Game 6 and they had a 15-point lead in Game 7.
Yep.
And we all know Golden State's capable of being, because that's the first thing they say. Well, it's Golden State. They're going to make a run. That's why you got to play extra. That's why you have to be extra aggressive. You got to treat a 15-point lead like it's a 5-point lead.
Yep. You got to treat it like it's 0-0.
Yeah, exactly. Because you just know, I'm not comfortable against Golden State unless it's a 30-point. And even then, I'm thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? That's what they are. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing in football. I mean, when you play the Patriots, and we'll get to that in a second, but when you play the Patriots, I've been watching this team for 19 years, bro. I don't care if you're up. I don't care if you're up 28 points. I never feel comfortable against Patriots. Never.
You shouldn't, because the game isn't over until it's 0-0, and that's the only time you can relax, when it's 0-0. But yeah, to answer your question, momentum is at least for me, I think it's real. And, the game comes at you in waves, and can you ride the rough waves, and can you sustain the good waves for you in that manner? Yeah,
I agree. And the people that don't believe in it, they kind of just more of the, hey, it's about plays and, making plays and doing this and I get that to the overall degree. I get it. But, I still think momentum does play in these games. I really do.
No doubt.
So where do the Saints go from here? I wrote on Twitter that, has there been another team in recent memory, another football team that has lost two of the most excruciating playoff losses, back-to-back years? I mean, you think about the Minneapolis Miracle last year, and then you look at this game. I mean, oh my! I mean, can you name a team that has lost just absolutely heartbreaking, just gut punch? That's a loss that's going to stick with you. I mean, those are. I believe that there's losses that are generational losses, like the Browns losses in the 80s. Those were generational losses. Those are losses that take 20, 25, 30 years in the Browns case of getting over it. There's just losses like that. I not to disappoint you again, but I think the 28-3 is a generational loss. That's a loss that's going to hurt that franchise and that fan base for people 25 years from now are going to be thinking about that. Until you actually get another chance to get to a Super Bowl and win, that is still going to be there. And these two losses are going to stick with Saints fans. And I know a lot of them. You know a lot of them, I'm sure. These two losses, man, as a fan, which one is worse?
I think for the Saints fans, like I said earlier, I think this loss is worse than last year's loss, because last year was sudden. And you can say, okay, well, hey, Diggs made a play. The Vikings didn't give up. They took it. They won. You hate that it ended the way that it did, but that's how it ended. This one right here, as a fan, you got to feel like this one was taken from you. Yeah. You don't feel like you lost this one. You feel like this one was taken. Where the Saints go from here, I don't know, because here's the thing about football that people don't really understand, and fans really don't understand. You don't pick up where you left off.
No.
Every season is a different entity in and of itself. So it's not like, in the NBA where LeBron loses the finals and they got the whole squad coming back next year. So you can pretty much pencil in, this team and that team for the finals, or at least, going into, and not to use basketball, but like you said, going into this NBA season, there's about 3 or 4 teams that we know can be in the finals, right? In the NFL, it doesn't work like that. In the NFL, legitimately, every team starts the season thinking that they have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl. Now, that's what they think, but not everybody does. But none of what you do the previous year carries over into this year. Right. Last year's Saints team wasn't as good as this year's Saints team in a lot of ways. And so it's a year of experience. It's a year of, trying to get back. It's a year of trying to avoid the injury bug. Yeah. So crazy stuff happens, man. I mean, like, you just never know from year to year.
Breeze is a year older.
Exactly. Breeze is a year older. And I mean, like, one of my boys texted and said, well, and we'll get into the KC game in a second, but they said, well, Mahomes is this is the second year, he'll be back. Oh man, you can't assume. I mean, we would think that, but you can't assume that. Let me tell you something, man. One of my favorite quarterbacks of all time.
There's no guarantees. Yeah, man.
One of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, Dan Marino, made it to the Super Bowl his second year. Never made it back. Never.
Look at Colin Kaepernick. I mean, and not to bring up the Saints and all that, but look at Colin Kaepernick. I mean, he was a questionable fourth and goal play from winning the Super Bowl. And who would have thought after the end of that year that, man, the 49ers, they got Harbaugh, they got Kaepernick. Like, this team is going to be playing and, at the very least have opportunities to get to Super Bowls for the next 5 to 10 years. And look what happened. Now, there's other things that went into that, obviously, that were kind of beyond football. But, just think of it like that. I mean, we don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know.
There's no absolutes in baseball. That's why, I take the NBA out of it, because in the NBA, I mean, if you got a LeBron, if you got that once in a lifetime, that transcendent talent, you're going to have a shot every year. Barring injury, you're going to have a shot. So I think the NBA is a little different. But I mean, my favorite sport, baseball and football. I mean, you don't know. That's why you don't know. When you got a chance, you got to go for it. You got to win, because you don't get these opportunities. Saints fans can, and I'm sure that they'll be in mourning for the next 6 months. But they'll cheer up again once training camp opens up.
Oh, of course.
They'll cheer up and they'll start the new year with hope, as we all do as fans.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll talk yourself into thinking, well, you know what? Let's go, baby. We back. This year's we're gonna right this wrong. We all do that as fans. We talk ourselves into believing that this is what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, there's no guarantees.
No, there's no guarantee. I mean, and then your star receiver holds out, and then your running back, then your left tackle gets, he tears his Achilles, and then your starting safety, he gets a drug suspension. I mean, like,
all these things,
things happen and
within an off season. I mean, it can all happen in an off season.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the promise of, okay, well, we made it to the NFC Championship game. Next year's our year. Nah, it don't work like that. It just every year is just a total different entity in and of itself. And, to be honest, you got to catch some breaks along the way. I mean, if you lose your starting quarterback, there goes your season.
Yeah, there's luck involved in this, man.
Oh, no question.
there's a lot of luck involved in this.
A lot of skill and a little bit of luck.
Absolutely. Well, let's transition over to a team that's been enjoying a lot of luck and a lot of skill for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The New England Patriots. They do it again. Beat the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime. Where do we start with this game? It's interesting because, it wasn't as, I don't think it, it's weird because this game kind of, it was a 2-part game in a lot of ways. Like, it was kind of a ho-hum game for the first 3 quarters or so. And then in the fourth quarter, in overtime, it was just a playoff classic. I mean, so it's weird when you're analyzing this game because, like, the first, 3 quarters, it's kind of, it was a good game, but I mean, it was just kind of, it was there. And then it just became this just a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we start with this game? Let me know. First of all, what was your pick going into the week? And, kind of just break down the game from there.
I picked Kansas City too. I thought, them being at home, I thought they, this, in spite of losing to New England earlier this season, I saw that game. I think that was a Sunday night game, which was a good game, really good game.
43-40,
yeah. They lost in Foxborough. I thought the home field advantage, I think, given the fact that Kansas City played so well last week, I thought that they were going to have, a pretty good. I know they were. Yeah, obviously, anytime you're going against Brady and Belichick, you're going to have your hands full. But I thought Kansas City was going to come out, and I thought if they got on New England early, it would bode well for them because obviously, what you want to do is you want to be able to get to Brady, with pass rush, and you want to be able to get up on them because you want to make them one-dimensional. People don't because New England doesn't. They're not fancy or flashy with it, So you don't really think of them as a dominating team, but bro, that first drive, they took up like half the first quarter.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing last week. And this is what they do. And they'll just, they don't look like a running team that'll just pound you. But that's what they did, man. So coming into this game, I thought like some of the keys would be, obviously Mahomes would have to play well. Because Brady's going to do his thing. He is who he is. But I thought Kansas City would win at home. I thought it'd be a close game. I thought that was going to come down to whoever had the ball last again. I didn't foresee both of these games going to overtime, which I think was dope for the NFL. They got their money's worth.
They needed it because the playoffs this year has been kind of because last weekend was kind of outside of the Eagles game last weekend, and divisional round weekend was not great, and even the first weekend was okay.
Yeah, it was decent. It was decent. I mean, for us fans, we're gonna tune in regardless, especially if our teams aren't playing. But it was New England, I thought played a hell of a game. I think Kansas City. I don't know who Kansas City's defensive coordinator is, but
Bob Sutton.
They need another one. He must be Andy Reid's brother-in-law or something. He got to go. I mean, they were running. It's almost like, and I said this last week about the Rams-Dallas game, where the Rams kept running the same play over and over, and it's just like, okay, you're gonna have to stop us. All they were running was they would have Edelman in the out on the outside on the numbers. He'd run going what they call zip motion, short motion into, and he would basically rub off the butt of the other receiver. So he's running, and basically whoever's covering him would be, because they were playing 2-man, he'd run his man into that man, and his man wouldn't jump off of him. And so Edelman was wide open the whole night. I mean,
he killed them.
He killed him. Even the pass that was picked off, he was open. He just, the ball just went off his fingertips.
Yeah.
But I feel for Kansas City and their fans, because I think they had a chance to take this one home, and this was going to sting, man. Because I think New England is a team that you got to beat them, because they're not going to beat themselves, right?
Yeah.
And Brady was Brady. I mean, he is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game.
No, I'm over that, man. I'm over it. I hate to cut you off. I'm over it, man. I'm not saying he's the great. Look, I love Joe Montana. I love Elway.
You didn't see don't do it. Don't do it. You didn't see Montana in Elway.
I didn't see Montana.
Okay.
But no, I'm over.
Okay.
I'm over it. Man.
If you trust me when I tell you,
football player that has ever lived.
The greatest football player?
I'm bringing this up specifically for you because I know you tweeted this the other day.
No, he's not.
This man is bro. Look, Jerry is incredible. Lawrence Taylor, incredible.
You didn't see them in their prime. You didn't see Jim Brown in his prime. I didn't see Jim Brown in his prime.
I know.
If you say he's the greatest of his era, I'll give you that.
Dog, it's getting hard. It's getting hard not to say this man's not the greatest.
Nah, because I mean he could come out.
It's getting hard, man.
They could come here and get beat by 20. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
That man. And dog, I'm a Jet fan, so I'm not. Everybody who listens to this show knows I hate this man with every fiber of.
He is a phenomenal quarterback.
My being.
I cannot. All hate aside, I cannot take anything away from him. He is the greatest of his generation. But I that would be like me. I mean, he's like LeBron. I mean, he's the greatest of his generation. I can't say he's the greatest of all time. No.
Oh my God, he's incredible.
He's incredible.
I mean, some of the throws that he made. I mean, it's just like, oh my.
And
God.
all week we heard about the Chiefs' pass rush, and they couldn't get to him today.
Well, let's go there. Mm-hmm. Look, I don't think the Chiefs. I was disappointed in the Chiefs because I picked the Chiefs. I thought it was their time. I thought the Chiefs. This is their time. If not this year, when?
Right.
Like, Mahomes. You got the game at home. The Lamar Hunt Trophy in your building, in the stadium that Lamar Hunt built. Like everything was written. It was written, and I thought the Chiefs just came out flat.
Mm-hmm.
just Mahomes. Look, I will, full disclosure, I didn't believe in Mahomes coming out of the draft. I don't love Big 12 quarterbacks. I still don't, but I've shut the hell up about Mahomes. I've ate my words all year because I didn't think Mahomes was going to be this good. And hey, granted, he's got a lot of weapons. Can't ignore that. He has a lot of weapons, and he has all the criticism aside. All the criticism you want to give on Andy Reid. The guy is a genius offensively. And, I've shut the hell up on Mahomes, but Mahomes didn't play well. Now he played well in the fourth quarter and into overtime. Well, can't say overtime because he didn't get the ball, but, he played well late in the game. But starting out that game, I didn't love the way Mahomes played. His passes were all over the field.
Yeah, he missed some throws. That
worries me. That's why when people compare Mahomes to Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes is Brett Favre. Like, Mahomes is one of those guys, like as much as I love Brett Favre can win you a game with his arm, and he can lose you a game with his arm. And I thought Mahomes has a lot of Brett Favre in him. Just some of those passes, I'm like, where is he throwing? Like he's just fired. Like it's like a pitcher that's wild in baseball, where he's just throwing it to the back. I'm like, what is he like, dude? Like, where is your command and your control right? Like that's what he was doing early in the game. I was just like, what is he doing? Mahomes didn't play well. Now he made up for it in the fourth quarter because he had some dimes in the fourth quarter, but I thought that was more on the Patriots defense kind of getting gassed and just the Chiefs kind of ramping up their offense. But I thought Mahomes didn't play well in the defense. I mean, come on. I mean, that defense. And I was sitting there talking to my boy the other day, making my pick with him, and I was like, yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to do it. I think the Chiefs defense had played so well against the Colts, and the Chiefs defense has started to play well, and the Chiefs defense plays well at home. Well, I was wrong. When they needed to get off the field, they couldn't get off the field. They got bailed out in some instances by the officiating. The Chiefs. I don't think this game is different from the Saints Rams game because you don't have that singular moment to point at, like, okay, this is what happened in this game that's going to be the talk of the game. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's just that you got to play better defensively. You got to play better defensively in this game, and just Brady is just Brady. I mean, what can you say about that guy? I mean, he's just all right, I'll concede. He's maybe not the greatest football player of all time, but God damn it, he's in the conversation.
Hey,
he's
what?
Got a seat on the table.
You get arguing for me on that. I think, and I was texting the fellas, from Dead End Sports and in our group text, and I said it's too much time. It's too much. I mean, like Brady had it was 2 minutes.
Yeah,
he had, I think, and 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning when they got the ball back, I think, or maybe the 2-minute warning happened. But, that's a lot of, I mean, that's what you want for a quarterback. Any quarterback wants that, coming down the stretch. But yeah, Kansas City, man, like I said, all week long we heard about, they led the league in sacks. The way that from watching them,
But I never trust that defense. I watched that defense all year. Surprisingly, I watched a lot of Chief games this year.
I did.
And I've never loved that defense. And it's weird because that defense has a lot of talent on it.
Yeah,
they got on that defense. I mean, they have more talent on that defense. That they should be better than they are. I know they dealt with injuries. Justin Houston was out for a while this year, and obviously Eric Berry. So they've had some injuries, but I mean, that defense should be a lot better than what it is. And that defense, I watched a lot of Chiefs games this year, and that defense was going to lose them a playoff game. It just was bound to happen. Maybe not. Maybe shouldn't have lost them this game, but maybe the next game it would have lost them had they advanced. But that defense just is not that great. It's not that great. It's been like that all year, giving up big plays after big plays. Gronk is Gronk still. I know he's still limited, but Gronk is great too. I mean, Edelman killed them. Oh God. I mean, what can you say?
You know what? And you make a great point about that defense. I think for me, I didn't watch them a lot this year, but the few times that I saw them defensively, they were a team that I thought it was possible. I wouldn't have been surprised, even though they were the number 1 seed. I wouldn't have been surprised if they got knocked out in the first round. You know what I'm saying? Because you just didn't know. You didn't know what you were going to get from that defense.
Yeah.
But they had the opportunities. I mean, bro, you gotta pick. Yeah. And your defensive end lines up offsides.
Unbelievable.
And I mean, like, you can't even blame that on the refs.
And this always happens against the Patriots, man. It's just always. I mean, look at the Edelman, the muff punt by Edelman. That, you know, had that been any other punt returner on any other of the 31 other NFL teams, like 1 inch of that damn ball touches them. But it's the Patriots. It just so happens it didn't fucking touch them. It is. And I know I'm being a cynical, you know, hating ass Patriot fan, Jet fan. But I mean, I marvel at it, man. I've watched this for 18 years, man. They get all the breaks in the world. And I'm not even saying it like in a mad way. I'm just saying facts. Like, they get all they do. Like everything that you can imagine, like, damn, that's not going to happen to them, is it? Yep, it happens.
I don't know what it is, man, but it kind of takes me back to, I mean, first and foremost, you know, and I don't want to offend anybody listening in Boston, but I hate Boston. So, so if you're offended, close your ears. I'm a Yankees fan, so I hate everything in Boston. But when I was a little boy, man, the Celtics, they were just like this. The Celtics in the 80s got every single break. There was nobody in the East that could mess with the Boston Celtics. They got all the calls at home, all the shots. You know, Bird would take a shot and it hit like the side of the backboard and it bounced on the rim 5 times and it roll around and then finally drop. I mean, like every break that you could, and that's why they talked about the leprechaun. So I don't know what it is with the Patriots. Maybe it's the Boston lore. I don't know what it is.
Maybe them Irish Catholics did some kind of sacrifice or something.
I don't know what it is.
Pig's blood. I don't know what it is, bro. Like, I don't know what it is.
When you combine their talent plus their preparation, and I mean, all hate aside, the Patriots are prepared, and they, you know, and like I said earlier, they're not going to beat themselves. You just got to beat them. And, you know, and I kind of liken, you know, what Saban has done at Alabama to what Belichick has done with the Patriots. You know, you got to just straight up beat them. Now, of course, we did see Clemson throw Alabama down a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
But you got to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves. You're not going to have a situation where Brady's going to have, you know, 5 turnovers or they're going to have a bunch of penalties. They're very disciplined. And they get after you, and they know what it is that, you know, they're very well prepared as far as their game plan as to what they want to do. And they try to do whatever they can to negate you. I mean, defensively, they took Tyreek Hill out of the game. They double covered him every single play. And they said, okay, Kelsey, you come beat us. Sammy Watkins, you beat us. And, you know, like you said, Mahomes was off, particularly early. And New England, I mean, you tell me, I've never seen New England get a pass rush like the way they were doing tonight.
Yeah, where the hell did this pass rush even come from? Like, dog, I was saying that last week when they just completely, like, you know, they completely raped the Chargers. I mean, like, dog, this defensive line. I mean, I hadn't seen the Patriots play like this since they had Brewski and McGinnis and those boys. Like, dog, where is this pass rush coming from? Because I don't think that Patriots defense is that great.
No.
They have players on that team, but they're not that great.
Nope.
And it's just like, God, their defensive line. I mean, the Chiefs' offensive line completely was overrun in the first half. I mean, just completely overrun. Yeah, and dog, and you mentioned the defense. You know, and one of my friends said this on Twitter. You know, he basically said, you know, he wondered if Belichick's game plan for this game wasn't the same when he planned, you know, the same game plan he had for the 1990, 1990 or 91 when the Giants were playing the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the infamous story that, you know, Belichick basically told the defensive guys that, you know, we're going to let Thurman Thomas run for 100 yards and we're going to win.
Yeah.
We're going to win if Thurman Thomas runs for 100 yards. And the
logic they punish the receivers every time they touch the ball.
logic was that if you force Jim Kelly and the Bills to not throw the football and have to run the football, that's going to keep that off. That's going to keep them from doing what they do best, which is throwing the football.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have a chance to win. And it kind of seemed like that in the first half against the Chiefs. You know, they took Tyreek Hill out of the game. You know, they were being physical with damn, I forget the tight end. His name's Kelsey. Yeah, Travis Kelsey. They were being physical with him. and just kind of felt like, and then Mahomes was not helping them by just being errant on some of those passes. So it just kind of felt like their game plan was just kind of like, hey, we're going to take your best player out of the game, and we're going to make this young kid beat us. And I don't want to put too much of the blame on Mahomes because he's young, and I'm sure that if he gets a couple other opportunities at this, he's going to play better. He's got too much talent. I get that, but this wasn't his shining moment. It just wasn't. And it's interesting because we talked about Goff in the first game and how he grew up before our eyes. Mahomes and again, Mahomes played well in the fourth quarter, so he had his little mini moment of growing up. So I guess it, he kind of made up for it a little bit there at the end. So that's all that counts. Mm-hmm. But any blame on Andy Reid? I know that there's some folks that always want to rag on Andy Reid. Look, I think I'm not one of those Andy Reid haters.
Yeah, it's easy to blame Andy
Reid. Yeah, I think Andy Reid gets a little bit too much hate. I think he's a very good coach. His clock management decisions leave a lot to be desired. His sometimes almost hate for running the ball leaves a lot to be desired. But I think he's a very good coach. He can coach my team any day. I'll say that. Can you blame Andy Reid in this game? Is there anything that you saw that, damn, Andy, like, what do you like? Because I already saw people on Twitter of course. He's the easy target.
Right.
So anything that you saw from Andy Reid?
I will say, and I looked at of course, statistics don't tell everything, but bruh, they had 41 yards rushing total.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, you can't. And now I don't expect you to go out and rush for 200 yards, but you can't have 41 yards rushing because, even with a guy as dynamic as Mahomes, you got to keep the defense honest.
Yeah.
So, that was a problem. Damn, defensively, they gave up 36 first downs to the Patriots. 36. Wow. You can't win like that. So
you can't win like that.
That means your defense isn't getting off the field. I think just, God damn, I'm looking. The Patriots had 524 yards total offense.
Wow. Bob Sutton, I hope you're not renting.
Yeah, that's not like one of my boys. He texted me. He said, "Man, they should fire their defensive coordinator, win or lose." Because it was just that bad. So
that's bad, man.
Andy's gonna get. He's gonna get some blame. I don't necessarily blame him. I think his coordinators failed him, and I hate to say that about Eric Bieniemy because I think he's a very good offensive coordinator. Of course, we pro brother. So I'm hoping that he needs to get a shot at a job because these black offensive coordinators never get the.
I'm surprised Colorado didn't call him. His alma mater.
I'm surprised he was a beast at Colorado. I remember. We came out around the same time.
Dog, I'm a Nebraska fan, so I remember a little bit of Bieniemy in college. Like I was a kid.
Okay.
I didn't
Really,
analyze him the way I would analyze him now. But going back and watching highlights and stuff, Bieniemy was a buck, and he was all right.
He was a beast.
He was decent in the NFL.
And so hopefully he gets a job. Like I said, I'm not gonna blame Andy Reid for that. I think they just they got Brady and Belichick, man. They take away your strengths. And we saw, even if we go back to last year's Super Bowl, Belichick basically said, look, y'all not going to run the ball against us. Nick Foles is going to have to beat us. And damn it, he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, they had to live with what the consequences were. And I think, it's going to be more of the same, I think, going forward. You'll see, them try to say, okay, well, hey, we're going to take away Gurley and C.J. Anderson and, Goff, you're going to have to beat us. And they may try to take away Woods and they might, it may be one or two guys that they going to have to feature or what have you. But, it's about making the adjustments. And I think, and I tweeted to the fellas in the group chat, that Andy was going to have to make adjustments at halftime. And I thought he did a pretty good job. And Mahomes kind of settled down.
Yeah, he did settle down.
But it's like you said, there was still some – he had it was a couple of touchdowns he overthrew, So hopefully with this experience, he gets another shot at it. I'm pretty sure that he will get another shot at it. But how many times are you going to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs and you're the number one seed? That may or may not ever happen for you again. You just never know. I mean, like I said, football's it's a crazy sport, man. But hats off to the Patriots. They did it again. That's all I can say.
And the amazing thing about the Patriots is they can play any kind of game you want. Any kind of game they can play. You want to play a tough, physical, 20-17 football game, they'll play that game. Yep. You want to play 45-41, we'll play that game. I mean, they just are. It's amazing. I mean, I it's gotten to the point where I don't even hate anymore. I don't even I'm numb to it now. Like I've just like this is like I'm numb to it. Like I'm just kind of like, like it's just kind of like it is. Like I don't even. Nothing they do surprises me.
Nah, it is what it is.
Remember, and I'll get back to the Chiefs in a second. So I want to bring something up about the Chiefs, but we talked about momentum. Mm-hmm. Did it not feel like, and this is a little bit on the momentum topic, but did it not feel like this team was motivated by all the talk of the Patriot dynasty being over, and this is the end of the road, and look at Brady, looks old, and the Miami Miracle, and all this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give a PSA now for all football writers, all football personalities, media people, fans, whatever. Stop writing the epitaph of the Patriots. Just stop. From now on, as a football community, let's get together next year and just say, you know what? Let's just praise the Patriots all next year. Regardless, who knows what happens this year? Whatever. Let's just praise the Patriots. Let's say the Patriots are unbeatable. I don't care if the Patriots are 5-6 through 12 weeks. Say they're unbeatable. The Patriots have never looked this better. Oh, Brady looks like he's 21. Say all the positive things. Mm-hmm. Spin it as much as you want. Don't say nothing about the Patriots being done, about Brady being old, about Belichick and Kraft hating each other, and Belichick and his trainer not liking or Brady and his trainer not liking Belichick. All the narratives, all the bullshit that has been thrown out there by the media for the last 2 years. Just don't talk about it anymore. Don't put it out there. Don't write it. The little books and stuff that you want to write, just can it, shelve it. Don't do it. Just praise them. Praise them. Brady's the greatest. Brady was the one that turned water into wine. Just praise him. Call him football Jesus. He can do no wrong. He is the Messiah. He is the one that has returned to pardon us and and forgive us for our sin. Like everything. Just do anything that you want to say about this team, about this man. Say it. That's positive. Because just don't write the epitaph. Because I've heard this now for the last 5 years that the Patriots were done, that they were dead in the war, and they just feed off that. And I think this year more than ever, they fed off that. I mean, you can just help Brady from the interviews that he gave last week and going into this game this week. They really fed off that. They really felt like, oh, y'all motherfuckers is throwing dirt on us? Okay, watch this.
I think they kind of use that as a narrative, but I mean, really, how much motivation does Brady need? I mean, he ain't really worried about people saying that they're being written off. I think that's more of something just to keep the media on their toes. Yeah, but I'm with you. I don't think you can throw dirt on them until it's actually over. Now,
I agree with you, but I think this year more than even the last few years, I really felt it this year. Like it almost felt like the talk of the AFC was Mahomes and even Phillip Rivers. Oh, Rivers is reinvigorated and this was Phillip Rivers' time and blah, blah, blah. And it just kind of felt like and the Patriots. Like, oh, yeah. They might win.
What the problem is that, people see that and then they see games where the Patriots go out and get beat, but they forget that, there's actually no competition in the division. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you've got a cakewalk to at the very least a division crown. And, so because I heard the after they went up to Pittsburgh and lost and, there was just like, okay, well, yeah, maybe this isn't their year. Maybe that this is the end. And there was talk about Gronk might be retiring.
And I bought into it.
Can't buy it. Yeah. You just can't. You just can't because you just never know. And, as long as Brady and Belichick are there, but I mean, Brady's, is he the same quarterback that he was 6 years ago? No, he's not. But he's still great. So even if you talk about a player that's lost a step, that level where he is, he's still that much better than everybody else. And again, a lot of what the success that they have comes, strictly on the fact that they're prepared. Their preparation is A1. And then I think, it's, even though we don't know what's going to happen in the Super Bowl, let's say they lose the Super Bowl. It still doesn't mean it's the end for them.
No.
Still doesn't mean it's the end. They could get back to the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah. I mean, they got back to the Super Bowl. We're probably the less talented team that they've had in the last 5 years, and they got back to the Super Bowl. So
I mean, think about it. Can you name like any stars on that team, on that defense?
No stars. Trey Flowers is getting attention now because of this resurgence of that pass rush. But I mean, other than that, I mean, yeah. I mean, Stephon Gilmore, but he's not a star.
He's not a star.
The McCourtys are not stars.
Nope.
They're good players, but they're not stars. Yeah, they don't know nobody outside of Gronk and Brady. Those are the only stars on that team.
Man, let me tell you something. They have a defensive end, Claiborne, who played here. We actually drafted him. Mm-hmm. We didn't re-sign him, and he signed with the Patriots in the offseason. It wasn't until last week when he made a sack that I realized he was in New England. Because I mean, you don't hear about. I mean, like, it's just not. And then they're so tight-lipped. I mean, you can't say anything in New England. You can't dance in the end zone. You can't talk on Twitter. The stuff that other teams do. So I mean, it's so low key. It's a well-oiled machine, and I don't know how long it's going to continue. And of course, the Rams are going to try to have something to say about that. But you got to give them credit, and again, a lot of that goes to Brady and Belichick because they took it. They flat out took it from Kansas City tonight.
Yeah, they did. They outplayed Kansas City.
That's it.
No doubt about it. They outplayed Kansas City. And didn't you just know that when they got the ball in overtime, he was going to lead them down there and win? Like, there was just no doubt in my mind he was going to score that touchdown.
I would not mind seeing the overtime rule changed for the playoffs, even if you keep it where, because that thing of not being able to get the ball back is just crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah,
I'm not saying you got to put it at the 25, but
I don't like colleges either. So there's no real. I don't think college has a better one, but I think there you got at least there has to be improvement.
Yeah, at least for the playoffs. Now, if you want to do it during the regular season,
the regular season makes sense.
But because they and I know you don't necessarily want to have teams and players to keep playing or whatever like that, and so forth and so on. But I would like to see it. I don't know that it's necessarily something that's going to happen, but you knew, like you said, I figured whoever got, and I thought the same thing with the Saints game. When the Saints got the coin toss, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. They're not going to get the ball back. But lo and behold, Rams made it happen. Chiefs didn't.
Yeah. And you never know. So, I mean, you got to throw that out there. You never know. I mean, for all we know, Brady could have thrown an interception. And,
True.
Chiefs, but I mean, but it just felt how great he had played in that entire game, that it just felt like and that's how great he is. He just knew, look, I'm not fucking around. I'm not playing around. We're going for the jugular here. We're not going for a field goal and trying to play deep. Nah. He knew his defense was tired. He knew his defense. He got everything he had gotten out of his defense. He knew it's time for me to win this game. And that's the difference between a Tom Brady and a Matthew Stafford. That's the difference between a Tom Brady and a Kirk Cousins. There's good quarterbacks, talented quarterbacks, nice quarterbacks, nice guys, but then there's immortals. And that's the separation there.
Yep.
Those are the guys. That's why those guys make $200 million, because in games like this, these are the games that you need your quarterback to say, you know what, I'm taking y'all home. I'm winning. And it goes
get on my back.
And same thing is in basketball too. You know what I mean? These are the games while LeBron is LeBron and Kobe is Kobe, MJ is MJ, Bird is Bird. Like, it's games like these where, think of this as a game 7. Like, hey, guys, give me the ball. Get the hell out of my way. I'm taking us home.
Right.
And that's the way it is. So, last thing on the Chiefs. I kind of felt like there was going to come a point in the season, late in the season, that they were going to miss Kareem Hunt. I think tonight was that night.
Yeah.
I think tonight was that night. I think this, and I know it's unfair to say it because Damian Williams actually played really well for them. And he, in the little bit of touches that he had in this game, he played well. But, it just felt like there was going to come a point to me where they were going to miss Kareem Hunt, because I felt like Kareem Hunt, while Hill gets a lot of the attention and Mahomes gets a lot of attention, to me, their most important player was Kareem Hunt.
Mm.
And I felt like there was going to come, and I actually felt during the season, there were some games that they missed him. I thought that Chargers game that they lost, I think it was in December, they missed Kareem Hunt in that game a lot. So I thought it didn't, they missed him. I don't think that's why they lost the game, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this was a game that I thought they could have used Kareem Hunt.
Oh, I agree. And you knew that at some point it was going to come back on them. You just didn't know when. But I agree. I mean, and that's not, you can't blame the Chiefs for that. I mean, Kareem Hunt, is out of football for a reason. Now, I firmly believe that somebody's going to give Kareem Hunt a shot.
He's too talented. He's too young.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, we may not be fans of what he did, but
definitely not fans of what he did.
But he's not. He's too young and he's too talented. And I mean, hey, call me a phony. If the Jets said they wanted to sign Kareem Hunt, I'd be all for it.
Oh, trust me. Yeah. Kareem Hunt will be on an NFL roster next year. And I think what's going to end up happening, whatever the policy is as far as against domestic violence, if it's 6 games, he'll serve a 6-game suspension. I don't think he's going to fight it, but he's going to be on somebody's roster next year.
Yeah, I think it's going to probably be more than 6 games. I think they're going to try to make him an example. I could see like a 10-game suspension or something like that, something crazy. Because I think they're going to try to make him an example.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
So but he's too talented. He's too young. He's great. And look, I hope the young man, and I hate this world we live in where you fuck up once and you're not allowed a second chance. Like, look, I don't like what he did, but the guy deserves a second opportunity. He didn't slaughter children in a school. We didn't start a genocide or anything like that. Like he hit a woman, should have done it. He's going to pay his price. Let's move on. All right. Let's not castrate the guy for the rest of his life and call him a monster and he can't ever make a living. I'm not with that. So
yeah, I agree. I think, what he did was deplorable. I'm interested to see how he goes from here because I think the NFL, and not just the NFL, but I think people are willing to give you a second chance if you show contrition, if you, move forward from it, and then what you do going forward, how you live your life. You can't be in a situation like Reuben Foster, who, had one domestic violence accusation, and a couple of weeks later, here he goes again. You got to keep your nose clean, if you will. But I think, he'll get another shot. But I agree with you, bro, 100%. They definitely missed him, and not to say that he could have helped them win today, but his presence wouldn't have hurt them. I'll put it like that. Had he been on the field, because again, if you rush for 41 yards, I gotta believe Kareem Hunt gives you more than 41 yards.
Yeah, and that's no knock on Damian Williams.
Nope.
Damian Williams has played well. I mean, he's played really, really well, but he's not Kareem.
No, and it looks like, just looking at the statistics, it looks like they just didn't run the ball enough. I mean, just to have 41. I mean, Damian Williams had 10 rushes for 30 yards. So, he's clearly not getting the ball enough, but a lot of that has to do with, the situations they were in. If you're behind the chains, if you're, second and 13 and third, 15, no, those aren't running down. So you gotta do what you can. And that goes back to, what you're doing offensively and defensively, and then trying to keep your defense off the field. And again, Brady, when you start the game off with like an 8-minute drive, it's a backbreaker.
Yeah, I mean, it just and they came out early in the game and just punched them in the mouth. They just came out full steam, like, yo, they knew what type of game they had to have to win that game, and just give them credit. I mean, the Patriots are the Patriots, man. I mean, it's just, what else can you say?
And they're back.
Well, I wanted to get a couple more topics in you before we go. Real quick on the black coaches in the NFL thing.
Okay,
this is a topic right up your alley. What's your thoughts on it, man? If I know some people want to play blind and say, well, it's nothing to see there, blah blah blah. It's just a matter of just guys that were unsuccessful, and to a certain extent, yes. I mean, obviously, look, I'm a Jet fan, and I wanted Todd Bowles fired. So, I'm pro brother as much as the next guy. But if you suck at your job, you should lose your job. And I think you agree with that as well.
Yeah.
That being said, I think the NFL has to really look at this and really adjust and really reevaluate what they're doing here with this Rooney Rule, with everything involved in this. I mean, the fact that you have so little, I mean, in the league made up of so many African Americans, the fact that you only have I think now you only have maybe one African American head coach? I think.
No, two.
Oh, two.
Yeah, two coaches and then one minority in Ron Rivera in
Ron
Carolina.
Rivera, and then Ozzy's gone this year. After this is his last year. So this was his last year. So Ozzy's gone. So you can't even say in the front office you got one.
I think there's one black GM. Where's the black GM at? I think he's in. Damn it, it's on the tip of my tongue. But there is one black GM. But that right there actually is where I want to start. A lot of times, man, with these coaches, it's all about relationships, right? And people tend to, just like in society, people tend to, recommend people for jobs that they know or they like, or people that they've worked with, or people that they're related to. That's how I don't care how many times you post your jobs on Monster or Indeed, you get jobs based on a lot of times on, I remember one time I got a job just because I worked with a guy, and the job never got posted on Indeed or anything like that. The guy hit me up. He's like, yo, I heard you were looking for a job. I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a job. He's like, all right, shoot me your resume. I'll give it my manager. Boom, 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 boom. Really wasn't even much of an interview. I came and sat down. We started talking about sports. Can you do this? Can you do that? And then boom. Okay, start on Monday. That was it.
Yeah.
And I think so.
Absolutely.
What we have to have is black GMs. The Rooney Rule is being circumvented. And I think what they're doing is, there are some teams that are having these BS bogus interviews, but for the most part, but my thing is this: you can't, when you have qualified black candidates. Like I'll use a guy. Let me just use Leslie Frazier as an example. I know Leslie Frazier's still in the league. I think he's in Buffalo.
He's a defensive coordinator.
But he was a head coach at one point in time.
Yeah,
right?
Vikings.
So he was with the Vikings. So it didn't work out in Minnesota. Vikings turned the team around, whatever. But then you bring in a cat like Cliff Kingsbury, who got fired.
Dog,
from Texas Tech.
Don't even bring up Leslie Frazier. The coach he replaced, Steve Wilkes.
Yes.
Got 1 year.
1 year.
1 year with a rookie quarterback who played basically the entire season.
Pretty, and I saw the Cardinals when they came here. Yeah, you could have put Vince Lombardi, Bill Belichick on that sideline. They would have still sucked. I mean, they just don't have the talent just yet.
Exactly.
So it's. But my thing is, okay, if you fire a guy after a year, is that what we're doing? Because if that's the case, then a lot of people need to be fired.
Absolutely.
So it's about opportunities, man. It's about relationships, and it's about being real and being honest. And I think the reason why we talk about it a lot, on Dead End Sports, about being pro brothers, because the brothers only seem to get you. It's very few brothers that get the recycled jobs. A brother get a chance to be a head coach, and then after that he's just a coordinator. He's in the coordinator cycle, and he doesn't get a chance to be a head coach again and again and again and again on this team and that team and that team. Mike McCarthy got fired for Green Bay. Mike McCarthy could have taken any of these jobs that are out here now. For whatever reason, he didn't take any jobs. So he'll chill.
Oh no, he could. Oh, apparently he was too good. He was chump change for the Jets.
So and I mean, and don't get me wrong, I don't want anybody listening to think like I think, like Todd Bowles, for example. Todd Bowles, I watched the Jets, and no, he didn't perform well. And he had 4 years. So I got no beef with that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like he just didn't get the job done. It's a results-based business. That's what the NFL is. So if you either get the job done or you don't get it done. If you don't get it done, they'll find somebody to get it done in your place. And that goes for players and coaches. That being said, a guy like Marvin Lewis, Marvin had plenty of time to get it done. Marvin didn't get it done, so I understand that. But a guy like Steve Wilkes, Yeah, then he gets bumped down to being a coordinator, and then it's almost like you never hear from him again. My man Raheem Morris was the head coach for the Redskins a few years ago. Dog, he's the receivers coach for the Falcons. So how do you go from head coach to not coordinator? Because the Falcons coordinator was Steve Sarkisian, who came in off the street out of rehab.
Oh, don't even get me on you. Don't even get started on
So actually, let me back up a little bit. Morris was coaching the defense at one point, then they moved him to the offense. So he's coaching Julio Jones, and he can't be your coordinator. And then so my thing is, so even the team like the Falcons, they turn their coordinators over, and then they bring in Dirk Cutter. I'm like, wait a minute, bro. I mean, like, so as a player and as a coach, you have to. How do you look at that? You got to look at him crazy. Like, okay, well, bro, I'm here. I have a resume. Yeah, he was only in DC, I want to say 2 or 3 years, but once the black coaches get that position and then they lose that position, it's almost like they never get another shot at it. And that's the thing. That's what I have a problem with. I mean, other than Lovie Smith, and Lovie's in college now, but Lovie went from Chicago to Tampa, but other than that, I mean, look at the Lions. They get rid of Jim Caldwell. And then they had the guy that replaced him, Matt Patricia, who's a coordinator for the Patriots. He's coming to meetings late. Come on, bro.
Disaster. A disaster.
Come on, bro.
A disaster. A complete and utter disaster.
So I, in a nutshell, they got to fix
it. And I'm not a huge Jim Caldwell fan. But
I'm not either.
But he
was better than the guy that's replaced him.
Yeah, he got railroaded in Detroit. Absolutely. There's no. I mean, the Steve Wilk one is disgusting. Like that's just disgusting.
I mean, you don't
fire a guy after 1 year.
After 1 year, that's crazy.
And I tweeted directly at the Cardinals. I was, hey, so if Cliff Kingsbury goes 4-12 next year, okay, he won one more game than Steve Wilkes. Does he get fired after a year?
He might. I would hope that he does because he's not. I mean, bro, you got fired from Texas Tech.
Yes. I mean, this idea, this fantasy that Cliff Kingsbury, I watched a lot of Texas Tech. And yes, he's got a cute little offense, and wow, it's awesome, and wow, they score 50 points a game.
And they don't stop anybody.
Tech. They fired him at his alma mater.
Yeah.
That should tell you something. When his alma mater, and he was the shit at Texas Tech. When they decided, we got to make a change.
Right.
When you can't even get to a bowl game with Texas Tech. A bowl game.
In the Big 12.
And then not to mention the fact that he takes the SC coordinator job for a month and then just decides, I get it. He's getting head coaching opportunities and he's getting phone calls. And hey, he's a businessman. He's got a family. I get it. I get the business side of things. But if I'm a coach, if I'm a GM, or if I'm an owner of a team, like, damn, dog, you committed to the Trojans for a coordinator position. And then a month later, you're leaving them to become a head coach? Like, yeah, that's a little iffy. It's a little iffy. So, yeah, no, I just wanted to pick your brain on the whole black coaches in the NFL. I think I think the Rooney Rule, I think it was a good idea at the time they did it, but it's antiquated and people are circumventing. Mm-hmm. And it's becoming a mockery and a sham. And look, football, and to be fair, football is not the only sport that has this problem. Mm-hmm. Baseball has a lack of diversity in their front offices and in their managerial positions. I can't even think of a black baseball manager. Off the top of my head right now, I can't even think.
Robinson with the Dodgers.
Yeah, Dave Roberts.
Dave Roberts.
Yeah, Dave Roberts. Outside of Dave Roberts. Yeah, I can't.
That's about it. That's the first one that comes to mind. I can't think of anybody else.
I mean, Ron Washington is no longer with Texas, so you can't count him. I mean, outside of Dusty Baker, and he was railroaded 2 years ago by the Nationals. It's so I don't want to make this sound like it's just a football thing because there's a lot of sports that have this issue right now. But it's a sham. It's a sham. It's a mockery, and it needs to be addressed. And it's a damn shame that it's going on. So I wanted to pick your brain on that. And then the last thing, Kyler Murray, and the decision to play, not play baseball, football. You played football. maybe not at the level of Kyler Murray, but
No.
you played football.
Right.
You've been a student athlete. How do you feel about the whole Kyler Murray situation as far as the decision to play football or to play baseball? If you were Kyler Murray's father, what would you tell him to do? I mean, just kind of give me your thoughts on that whole Kyler Murray situation.
There was a song in the 90s from a group called Wu-Tang Clan that said, "Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money." I tell my son to, follow your heart, but go get the paper, because there's that guaranteed paper in baseball. Now, yeah, you're not going to be, it's not like tomorrow you're going to spring training with the Yankees or anything like that. But baseball, why risk, concussions and ruptured spleens playing football as opposed to playing baseball? Now, I've never seen him play baseball, so I don't know how good he is or isn't. I'm assuming, being drafted at the level where he was by the A's, that he's pretty good. But I would recommend to him to play baseball. And not only that, not only the money, but you can play longer. But, somebody is going to convince themselves between now and April that he's a, first round draft pick. And all it takes is one. And when you got, Todd McShay and Mel Kiper Jr. on ESPN saying that, reading off your attributes and everything like that, and somebody says, okay, well, hey, we'll take him number one. That's all it takes. I mean, somebody took Tim Tebow in the first round. So that's all that it takes, is for one team to bite. He's a very good college quarterback. He's extremely accurate. Obviously people talk about his height, but what's weird is that, like, when I saw him play, I didn't see a lot of passes getting knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Conversely, I've seen taller quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan get a lot of passes knocked down at the line of scrimmage, and they're 6'5", 6'8". So, some of it could be the trajectory from where you throw.
Their release points.
Yeah, the release point and everything like that. Baker Mayfield is a guy who, and I'm like you, man, I had to eat crow. I didn't think Baker Mayfield was going to be good at all. His height withstanding, I thought he was just a very good college quarterback. But he looks like he's going to be a really good pro. And so, he was another one that didn't get a lot of passes batted at the line of scrimmage. So I think Kyler Murray, man, if he's going to do it, and he's already entered in himself into the draft, somebody's going to take him number one, in the first round. So I think I'll put it like this. I hope he knows what he's doing. If it were me and I was advising my son, I would tell you to follow your heart. But I would also say, I think baseball is the better long-term fit. If, like I said, somebody's going to draft him. So
yeah,
as long as he doesn't, the cool part for him is that he doesn't even have to do much. I mean, he can have a pro day. He doesn't have to go to the combine. He doesn't have to throw. He can do the bare minimum. Somebody's going to take him in the first round.
Well, I wrote about this. This was my first blog post that I wrote.
Okay.
And I talked about kind of the not necessarily the pros and cons. I kind of did a combination of pros and cons, and then also how this is a big loss for baseball because as you know, and I know, baseball has a tough time attracting African Americans and African American youth, and having a guy in the stature of Kyler Murray just won a Heisman Trophy, that would have been a huge addition to baseball. And losing that guy is a big hit to me. Now, it's not a death blow. They're not going to. Of course, baseball's going to survive. It's been around for 200 years. It's going to still be around with or without Kyler Murray. Mm-hmm. But I think it would have only helped to have Kyler Murray play baseball. That being said, I mean, I get the pros and cons. I mean, it's a longer apprenticeship in baseball. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to think about it from Kyler Murray. I balled out this year. I won a Heisman Trophy. I played in a college football playoff. I actually played well in the second half. Played close. Had we not gotten off to such a rough start in the first half, we probably could have had a chance to win that game. Had I played as well as we did in the second half. I get to the heights of my sport. And then, okay, guys, all right, well, it was fun. It was cool. all right, now I got to go play, Coastal League baseball, and, an
Right.
A-ball, playing for the Fresno Monsoons, riding the bus, like in some dilapidated cities. Like, yeah, hey, I get it. It's a come down. It's a really big come down, and also, and this is why I love baseball, because you could be the most athletic, you could be the most gifted, physically gifted, talented individual. If you can't hit that fastball, can't hit that curve, you ain't shit. You ain't shit. That hand-eye coordination, that bat speed. Now, from everything I've read, and it's also hard to evaluate prospects, because you just don't know. I mean, guys look good, but you got to base. It's harder to judge. Like, it's easier to judge NFL prospects and basketball prospects and baseball prospects. It just is. It's just it's easier. It's harder in baseball, but everything that you read, and I've never watched him play a game in baseball. I'll be honest. But everything you read, he's got the bat speed, he's got the hand-eye coordination, which is the two things that you instantly need to be, at the very least, a major leaguer. So he has those things. Now, who knows if they actually, develop even more and transfer over into the major leagues? Who knows? But that's the tricky thing about baseball. Hey, you could be the greatest, most physically gifted athlete in the world, and if you can't hit the curve, you ain't making it to the majors.
Nope, not at all.
It's not going to happen. It just isn't, and that's why I think a lot of kids, because I've seen a lot of documentaries, and I've talked to a lot of people that played a lot, and I know a couple friends of mine that were two sport athletes. A lot of guys that played baseball and football and loved baseball, like they loved it, they loved playing it, but they said, like, there's no guarantee. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it in baseball. And plus, like, you can't underscore the instant. We live in the instant gratification world, and we want it right now. 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 And baseball is just not like that. It's not an instant gratification sport. It's not a sport that you're gonna get it right now. I don't care if you're Kyler Murray and you hit 35. You could hit 70 home runs coming out of college. You want to play an A-ball. It's going to happen. Like, you may not be there for long, but you're going to play in the minor leagues. So it's just one of those things. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. Very rarely has a first round pick not played in the minors. I think the last guy to do it was Mike Leake, pitcher for the Mariners. So that he just completely skipped minor league baseball. But it's very rare. Even Bryce Harper, a teenage prodigy. He was even in the minor leagues for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I think it's a longer apprenticeship in baseball as opposed to football, where he can get drafted and conceivably next year play for a team. So it's interesting, because I could see both the pros and the cons of either decision. I would say this, that, yeah, man, and also the other thing that can't be underscored either is, like, while the money long term is better in baseball, the money short term is not as great, because right now, as an NFL quarterback, he's coming in with with the opportunity to make $4 million. In baseball, right, you don't really start making money until you become arbitrate. First of all, you got to make it to the major leagues. Right. And then you don't start making really 3 or 4 years in when you become arbitration eligible. You know what I'm saying? That's when you really start making real money. So, yeah, so now, obviously, once you get, arbitration eligible and you sign that first big contract, 26, 27, 28, we're talking about way more money, guaranteed money, than you would ever get in the NFL, obviously. But it's a longer wait. Again, it's the gratification. So I think, look, I don't think you can knock the kid either way. I really don't. If he decides to play football, hey, man, he followed his heart. It's what he wants to do. I think you got to give him, you got to respect him for that. If he decides to stick to baseball, then you got to respect him for that. I don't think you can knock him either way. I hope that he's not getting bad advice. I hope he's not getting, and I wrote that in my piece. I hope he's not getting, I hope he's not getting some agent filling his ear with a bunch of hot air. You know what I'm saying? And falling in love with prognosticators and stuff. Because I hope he's really doing this because he's thought about this, and he's really, hey, and he's following his heart. I really hope so. I hope that he's not just making this decision just for money. I hope that he actually put some thought in this. I really do. So, and we don't know this guy, so we don't know. But I would hope that that's the case. So.
Oh, no doubt. I agree. I agree totally.
I figured I would ask you, man, because I figured I would ask you because you've played football, so just kind of to get and you have kids that are old enough to be Kyler Murray's age. So, you know what I mean? So what would your decision have been have you been a parent? Because, you would ask your pops for that decision. Like, yo, what do you think I should do, And I hope his pops, told him the same thing. Like, hey, man, follow your heart. I'm sure his pops probably said, yo, long term, I think baseball's probably the smarter decision. But, you got to do what you love.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. And you got to, either way, whatever you decide, you got to make that decision and be cool with it and live with whatever the consequences that come with it. You don't want to have regrets saying, oh man, I should have stuck with football. Oh man, I should have played baseball because I think, when you get older, those things tend to, bother you even more. You want to say, okay, well, look, I made my decision and I'm cool and I'm at peace with whatever decision that I made.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Kyle, I want to thank you. It is it's a late night for you. So
my man.
Let you go.
Anytime, bro. Anytime.
But I appreciate the time. Before you go, man, plug your podcast, please. Tell them, plug your blog too. Tell them all the things you got coming up, man. Just let them know where they can find you, social media, all that good stuff, man. Say yourself.
You can find me on where can you find me? You can find me on Twitter at 12. I'm on there sometimes. So you can find me on Twitter at 12Kyle, the number 12 KYLE. Just on there, just usually talking trash and just talking whatever I feel like talking about. The podcast, as Manny mentioned, it's called the 12 Kyle Podcast. You can find it on any platform where you find a free podcast. Apple, you can find SoundCloud, Stitcher, now featured on Spotify, Castbox, you name it, I'm there. You can find it on the bathroom wall, probably. I don't know. And like I said, the podcast, I would talk about a little bit about everything. Like I said, everything from dating and relationships to sex to sports to hip hop and music and just life in general. I don't talk politics and I don't talk about current events. So if you want to come and listen to some stuff that'll make you laugh and make you think, then that's the podcast you need to check out. Plus, check it out because it's dope. Because I'm dope, So I mean, modestly speaking, but yeah, that's what's up, man. And as always, bro, I'm glad we got a chance to do this. And anytime, man. I like the new format. I like, and I've been on you, man, about I was waiting on the new podcast to come out, and I took a break for the holidays and everything like that, man. But it's good. I'm loving the way it sounds, and I listen every week, man. I listen every week, and
appreciate it.
Sometimes I want to tell you, like, Manny, calm down, man. Just calm down. You're gonna have a fit.
See, well, this is why I like having guests, man, because I can't blow up the way I want to. I came close, tonight's episode. I came close a couple times on certain topics, but hey, man, I like having that person to talk to, man, because I can calm myself. I can be an interviewer instead of having to talk.
Oh yeah,
you know how it is.
I love it
because
all I do is show up and talk.
Yeah. But you know how it is to carry a show by yourself. Sometimes you gotta like feel like you're not talking too much, but also like talk and try to entertain the listeners, and then at the end of the day, it's
no doubt, and I definitely got to come back on before spring training, and fill you in on how we about to win another championship.
Oh no, we're not bringing you on during the baseball season. So if you come back on, we're going to talk about basketball. We're not talking about baseball.
Oh yeah, man.
All of a sudden now, y'all want to be the cheap
man.
And not pay for Manny Machado, but
I'm good on Machado. I think I thought we were going to make a run at him, but I'm okay.
Y'all should be good on him. Y'all don't need him.
All I want to do is just to be able to be hitting the ball and shutting teams down pitching come late September. That's all I want, because if that happens,
this is the arrogance of Yankee fans.
Hey man, I'm just saying, man.
I'm good on Manny Machado. Like I don't want a multiple time All-Star.
When you win like we do, man,
whatever.
I mean, we the best. I mean, Boston, they did that thing last year. Houston did that thing a couple years ago, but we'll be back. We'll be back.
Did they ever?
But we'll be back. You know this. And I'm surprised that you're still rocking with this team, with the Mets. But I digress. I think you told me before how you became a Mets fan. So I respect it.
Listen, man. I think we've had a great show. I want to finish it on a high note. I've been avoiding talking about my teams because I'm trying to follow your advice. I'm trying to calm down. I'm trying to go into 2019 with a
we're not going to talk
baseball. Life and we're not going to talk baseball. We're not going to talk we're definitely not going to talk the Jets. So yeah, we good. We're good. You know, maybe I might have you on to talk about and how we
not happen.
Hey man,
you saw what Syracuse did the other night.
Right? Oh my God! You saw what we did last night.
Virginia.
Listen, we will definitely have you on.
We'll be able to talk because Duke is not going to make it. They're not going to win the championship. So I'm going to need you to tell me why my Atlanta Hawks should draft Zion Williamson. So we'll definitely have that talk in the spring.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will let you know why they should draft Zion. I will let you know. Y'all probably
he's a bad boy.
Y'all probably blow the number one pick too.
Man, stop it. Stop.
But man, thank you for being on the show, man. I truly appreciate it.
Anytime, man.
I truly appreciate it. You know, whenever you want to come on, just let me know, man. I will have you on.
Oh, no doubt. Anytime, bro. And I got to get you on mine, man. We're gonna talk hip hop too.
You just make the call. I will be there.
I got you,
bro. I'll let you, man.
All right, man. I'm gonna
enjoy your day. Have a good rest of your week, man.
All right, man. I'll get with you later.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, a Sunday morning sports conversation. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, and all other podcasting services. Follow us on Facebook at Any Given Sunday, on Twitter at AGS Pod, and on Instagram at AGS Podcast. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome back. Thanks again to Kyle for being my guest this week on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it. It's always a good time having him on the show, man. He's just such a smart dude, insightful, brings a lot to the show. Glad to have him as a friend, as a podcast mentor. So it's always a good time having him on the show. If you haven't listened to his podcast, please listen to it. It's a great show. It's the 12 Kyle Podcast. It's available everywhere: iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere you can find podcasts, he's there. But yeah, man, that's it for this week's show. I hope you guys enjoyed the football today, regardless of the results. Saints fans, we love y'all. Keep all sharp objects away from yourselves. No, but for real, hopefully you guys enjoyed the football today. It was a great day of football. And hopefully you guys have a great, happy, wonderful rest of you guys this week, man. Enjoy your day off if you're not working tomorrow. If you are working tomorrow, I feel sorry for you. We'll enjoy the day off for you. But nah, man, that's it for this week's episode. And we'll be back next week with another episode of the show. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. This show wouldn't be the show that it is without you guys, man. And if you love the show, just keep supporting it. Drop us a review on iTunes, man. We need it. The more love that we get, the more reviews that we get, the better. The more notice and more attention we get for the podcast. So yeah, man, that's it. So for Any Given Sunday, I am your host, Manny Brown. Thank you for listening, and have a happy rest of your week. Thanks. See you next week.
Serious, sir. Hey, check out Red Dead Radio, the Red Dead Redemption podcast. Every week, we welcome a wild guest to talk about the latest in Red Dead Redemption 2, Red Dead Online, and all things Rockstar. Plus, we cover our favorite cowboy movies, Western-themed TV, books, games, and much more. It's a zany, irreverent look at the Old West. So join me, Jared Petty, on Red Dead Radio, the Red Dead Redemption podcast. Subscribe to Red Dead Radio in Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app.
Do you like video games? Do you love PlayStation? Then I may just have the podcast for you. My name is Colin Moriarty, co-host of Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, a weekly show dedicated to all things PlayStation 4, PlayStation VR, PlayStation Vita, and soon enough, PlayStation 5. Since I started professionally covering the gaming industry in 2002, a lot has changed. Games are deeper, more immersive, and more beautiful than ever. They're bringing players on adventures we never quite knew were possible, and changing lives through the positivity of escapism. Our show celebrates all of that with a weekly burst of news and analysis, and a healthy dose of laughs too, mostly delivered via my co-host, comedian, YouTuber, and gamer, Chris Raygun. If you're gigantic nerds like us with a passion for the PlayStation ecosystem, past, present, and future, we hope you'll join us for Sacred Symbols, available on CastBox and pretty much anywhere else you download your podcasts.